Lots to do, lots to talk about. The NBA has had quite the week. The Eastern and Western Conference finals have tipped off. See who's going to make it to the finals out of this very intense Final Four. The NBA draft lottery is behind us, and we have a very interesting NBA draft ahead, especially these next three picks, or I should say who's picking in the top three. And the one team that won the big Victor Wembanyama stakes, we'll definitely get into that. Talk about Ja Morant becoming a knucklehead and getting in trouble for the second time in 2 months. And we'll have a lot of more fun with that. But lots to do. Let's cover the NBA. Our crew tonight is Fresh Faces, New Ideas, and Bars the God. What's up, gentlemen?
How you guys doing?
No, man, what's going on? What's going on, Bob?
Nothing. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot of fun things to talk about. So let's get into those fun things. So we are here to preview the conference finals, the ones that have started officially already. So we will start with the start of the conference finals. Then, as I said, little draft lottery, and we eulogize the teams that are out of it. So let's start it right here with the Western Conference Finals. The Lakers and the Suns are your final two in the Western Conference. Game one is behind us. The Nuggets take it on their home court with a very, very interesting game. Two offenses were going at it. Oddly, a couple of comebacks within that game, and it just led to an intense game by Nikola Jokic, and he took it over, and the Nuggets take a early lead. So if we talk about those quick stats for Jokic, who clearly seems to be the difference maker here in this 132-126 victory, Nikola Jokic, he gets a triple-double. He hits that triple-double in the third quarter, and he ends with 34, 21, and 14, going 12 for 17 from the field. And pretty much if Jokic is going to be Jokic, the true MVP, are the Nuggets going to sweep the Lakers? Let's start with that.
No, the Lakers are going to get one. And actually thinking about this, like this, when the Nuggets win the title, this season is going to be remembered. Like this MVP race is going to be remembered up there with the Karl Malone MVP. It's
Michael
going to be
Jordan,
like clearly
yeah.
Jokic is the best player. Everyone knows it, but someone felt bad for Embiid. They kind of hyped him up, and he won it. But Jokic is the best player. This is going to be the modern day Karl Malone MVP, which is like crazy that's where Embiid's like career is right now.
Oh, yes, and we definitely, when we eulogize the Sixers, we have a lot to say with Embiid, but clearly Jokic is the guy with a chip on his shoulder, and he just took over. And even when you had players on the Lakers really step up, they had a really great game offensively. Anthony Davis was pretty solid, scoring over 40 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. LeBron facilitating was just a rebound away from a triple-double. Austin Reeves with 42 minutes and make it an impact, but this Denver team now are healthy and have everybody they need, and it seems like they are going to be a team to really, there's going to be really tough to knock out. And ultimately, you see this as a short series regardless. Do you feel the same way too, Bars?
Nah, not at all. I feel like the Lakers actually have a bit of fight in them. Like, yeah, Jokic was good. He had a great game, but Anthony Davis playing like that too is pretty prolific. So I believe, like, in all honesty, the Nuggets do take game one, yeah, but I think the Lakers got the next two games. That's just in my opinion. And if they do take the next two games, I'm giving the Lakers a shot to win this 7 straight up.
Okay, but like, so the game was pretty much a blowout, except for the one mid game adjustment, which was to switch Rui onto Jokic instead, and basically let Anthony Davis patrol the paint. And this happened basically. So in the middle of the game, it congested things a little bit, and that's why the Lakers came back because the Nuggets offense kind of stalled. But that's not a series saving shift. Like this is not you're gonna put Drew Holiday to lock up Chris Paul. This is not you put Scottie Pippen on what's his face? Gary Payton. Like, this is not that type of shift. It was like an in-game adjustment that would have been the best shot they had at that game. It's not going to be a serious thing because you cannot rely on Rui to play superior defense for an entire 42 minutes, especially when you need his offense. Like he's not going to be able to do that. So I don't know where the defensive stuff comes from for them to really be able to hang with this team.
Well, if you look at it, it's more so I believe that they do have a decent amount of defensive players, long players, players with long arms. All they really got to do is disturb Jokic offense. They just got to stop him from scoring. That, I mean, now minor switches like that in game would stop him from getting fucking 40 points. What might like it'll force him to pass the ball more. We all know that Jokic is probably like what the best passing big man in the game. So like we got to look at it like force him to pass the ball. We know he can offensively score. He's the MVP. And yeah, he's the unsung MVP. We all know that they was bound to give Jokic a sympathy MVP, and I feel like this was the one. I agree with that. But yeah, like it's more so it's not that it's a series saving switch. It's more like Ham noticed that he can make the switch. So now it's like, how do we make Jokic uncomfortable? Do they have enough players to make him uncomfortable? Do they have the right players to make him uncomfortable? I feel like they do.
But they don't. Like they just don't. Like this is kind of like a they're kind of going to treat this kind of like Dirk, where you kind of put that smaller, wiry guy on him who could kind of move him off, but you can't because Jokic is fat and he's going to body it, whoever it is. So really, the adjustment is basically,
And he's got the shot too. Look at that buzzer
right.
beater at the end of the
Like
third quarter.
he's a good shooter, so we can pull him out of the paint anyway. And it's not like Jokic doesn't need to go for 30. Like that's not even in him to like go for scoring. He'll do it if you force him to do it, but his first instinct is to pass. That's why people like Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are perfect running mates for him because they have no ability. They Michael Porter Jr.'s first basketball instinct is to shoot. His 12th basketball instinct is to shoot, and then he'll look to pass it. Like that's perfect for them. They don't care. Like it's great. They just don't have an answer. It has to be Anthony Davis to straight up guard Jokic. But the problem with that is you have no backline after.
Exactly. So I feel and Rui Hachimura, he's not this prolific scorer where it's like the Lakers need him as a backbone for their offense. You know what I'm saying? So if they make him guard like Jokic for at least 20 minutes, come on, that won't kill him. That won't kill him. And they can score.
It's
They
not
lost
that
today
good
by
a
6
defender.
points.
He's not that good a defender to hold to ask that much of him. He is a good scorer. He was their best player basically offensively in the Memphis series. They need they need somebody other like LeBron and AD are gonna LeBron kind of. But AD is gonna generally score. They need some combination of Russell, Reeves, or Hachimura to pop every single game. Because they have to keep up with the Nuggets. Like if you're ranking players when you're taking it's like Jokic, AD, LeBron, and then it's like Murray, Porter. Like when is the next Laker player you're taking?
Yeah, they're not that deep to make that such an adjustment happen. And
Denver is deeper. They have like if you're gonna throw bodies, they can throw Thomas Bryant at him. Like the Lakers don't have the length. And to
They
be
got
fair,
Vanderbilt. They could throw Vanderbilt at him. Like
yeah, Vanderbilt would do all right. He'll do, but he doesn't have the offensive capabilities that Rui has.
yeah, he
Like
doesn't.
that's the thing.
But you don't need him for the offense. You just need him for the defense. And then you got boys like Russell. Russell had an off game, but when D'Angelo's on, he's on. Schroeder, he's just gonna do what Schroeder does. You know what I'm saying? Hachimura had 17 points. It was solid, but like obviously his value came in guarding Jokic, even though it was a late game. It was a late game adjustment.
Yeah, but that was less that Rui certainly turned into like the Grant Williams with the Giannis stopper for like a couple of years because of how he played. Like it's less that Rui turned into that and more of, oh shit, this was a mid game thing that they weren't ready for, which they'll be ready for next time. Like they'll have game plans now for when they do something weird and switch off AD and to have him in the paint. Like that's because that's what they're ideally teams have started doing. You keep your best shot blocker on like a guy who hides in the corner so that he can come over. But it's not like they don't have the firepower. And look, to be fair, this Lakers season is a success. Like, if losing to this Nuggets team is not a bad thing. Like, the fact that they made it to the conference finals with LeBron basically playing on one foot is a positive for this team. They have the ability now to build on that. They know that they have guys who they can then now rest and prepare AD and LeBron for next year. It's not like this is a much better situation for them than they were 5 months ago. Like, this is a success. Like, yes, every year LeBron doesn't win a title is considered a failure, but no, this is a success for them. You can't knock this Nuggets team. They're going to win the title.
You know what sucks about this is the fact that you're making a case for load management, especially with AD. And we know load management has been a crux in the regular season, but it seems to work. At least make these teams competitive like that.
Well, also, LeBron's almost 40. The dude's playing, he needs surgery on the foot, and AD's made out of paper mache. Like, some guys you got to load manage. Like, Kawhi is the worst example of it. He's, like, incapable of playing three months straight, like, at all. It's crazy because, like, he was amazing. Like, when he plays at his peak, he's like a top 5 player. But yeah, if you have older players, you should be resting them for this point. And LeBron does that all the time. And this Lakers team now has the infrastructure to do that for next season.
And they are putting the minutes in. Like, they are all these plus 40 minutes minutes.
I mean, this is when he plays, but impressive. I mean, he needs he's going to have surgery right after the season ends.
You still count LeBron out. Like, and I feel like, honestly, he's one of the better players when it comes to defense in the playoffs. When it comes to, like, post defense, you gotta kind of give it to him. LeBron's gonna give it. LeBron's gonna get his. He's got a 40-point game in his stash just for this series. He's gonna at least.
Yeah, that's why I gave them one game.
He's gonna listen. AD had a 40-point game, right? Boom. Russell's about to have a 30-point game coming up soon. LeBron's gonna have a 35-point game, and then AD's probably going to have 2 more 30-point games, grabbing like 20 boards. Because if you really look at it, they got killed on the boards. Jokic had 21 boards himself.
Well, what's their answer to that? They don't have another. Who's the other big guy who's going to rebound? Rui?
Like Rui?
Like, you gonna throw Mo Bamba out there?
Yeah, they should throw Mo Bamba out there. Something you need. Listen, They need size though. That's the thing about it. It doesn't matter if he's gonna get bodied. They just need to disrupt this man a little bit. That's it. Jamal Murray, I don't know what they're gonna do about Jamal Murray. We're talking about Jokic. Like, Murray didn't have 30 points. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still scary. Like, offensively, them boys are good. They're great, but I feel like their problem is gonna be defense. Nuggets lose this. The Nuggets lose this because defense. They're not going to
lose because of defense. The Lakers aren't an offensive team that's going to light them up into a point where you have to worry about it. I think they did a fantastic job against Phoenix. The only reason they dropped both games against Phoenix is because Devin Booker turned all of his sliders to 99 and literally played 2K games for two straight games. But the Nuggets defense is fine. The Lakers
boys do not have defense. The Lakers scored 126 points on them.
Yeah.
I always feel like once you score more than 100 points, defense needs to be questioned. Even Miami, like, even they're a great defensive team, when they let teams get over 100, I'd be like, come on, man, what's going on here? Like, 126 points, let's say that Jokic didn't have that 30-point game, 40-point game. Let's say Jokic had a 20-point game. The Lakers win that. 126 points, their defense got to be questioned. Honestly, I'm looking at it like that. And Michael Porter Jr. is not a defensive player. Jamal Murray does have some defense. Jokic ain't that big of a defensive player.
Well, no. So here's the thing with Jokic. He's not an AD defensive player. He's
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon's doing a good job. Jokic is he's never going to be a guy who's going to be the backbone of your defense. Like, but he's done a really good job of staying in front of people. Like, he's not going to get 30 blocks, but he's going to be able to disrupt because he's smart. Like, he's plotting and he's kind of like a shittier shot blocker version of Brook Lopez, where Brook Lopez understands how to, like, he knows where to be and he's got fast hands, so he's able to disrupt stuff. Like it just every time I watch him run, it's just mind-boggling. This is the best player in the league. He's so goofy looking.
Dude,
I mean,
you know when he got drafted second round, was it 43rd pick? His actual draft wasn't televised. He was literally drafted in the middle of a commercial on NBA TV.
yeah.
Nobody saw this coming.
Listen,
And
Yeah, and there was when they traded, there was a real argument of, are you going to keep Jokic, or are you going to keep Yusuf Nurkic? Like, imagine where Portland would be right now if they had got Joker instead of Nurkic.
and with his combo of Dame Lillard, you mentioned Karl Malone. That could have been what the Utah Jazz's potential was, with a stellar big man and a point guard on his prime. But
listen.
basketball's funny like that. And yeah, Jokic doesn't look like he's supposed to be the stellar NBA player, but he is a true freak of nature.
And can you count on KCP to have another 21-point game? KCP was on the Lakers, like one game, hot. Next game, cold. Next game, hot. Next 5 games, colder than the fucking Eskimos' nose. Like, so what are we really talking about out here? Like
The Nuggets, if you looked at their scoring from the last series, they have enough even scoring that they don't need somebody to pop off. They have enough guys who can pop off. Like if it's not him, it'll be Porter Jr. or it'll be Aaron Gordon going for more. Like they're going to get more open shots. Like it's very jarring to watch the difference between the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference when it comes to scoring. Like I've watched like pretty much every single Miami game because that's usually the game that's on when I get home. It's a struggle for them to put the ball in the bucket. Like almost every single Eastern Conference series has been a struggle for them to score. Like the West is a totally different game. Like them boys can shoot.
Yeah. And especially when every single one of them, and they're all facilitators too, and they just work better with it. They've all better have, specifically the Nuggets, all have a better basketball IQs. And if you were watching Jokic during the season, especially, and all, as I happen to watch a lot of Nuggets this year in late ESPN games, they just, you're right, their field goal percentage is insane. And with that, I will lean towards more of Fresh Faces' prediction. I think it'll be a shorter series, end in 5. But it's all about game 2 here. And we'll see, especially if the Lakers lose at home, that should really decide it all. And when we check back in next week, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. So with that, why don't we transfer to the Eastern Conference Finals? The Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat are going at it. Rematch from the bubble matchup. By the way, the Western Conference bubble match is a rematch. The Western Conference rematch. Why am I? Sorry. The Western Conference Finals was a bubble matchup as well. So now doing it on the Eastern side, we have the Celtics and the Heat. The Heat, the 8 seed, the Celtics, the 2 seed. They're playing game 1 right now. Let me ask you guys, after the Celtics played a game 7 where they kicked the ass of the Sixers, then we have the Heat taking care of business against the Knicks, winning it in 6. Where are we seeing this? Do we see the Celtics returning to the finals and maybe have a little more of an edge with the new coach? Or do we see the Heat, who they are also having an improbable season, but they have their struggles offensively as well? It's definitely a much harder matchup for the Heat. I'll first go with the Heat fan here. We'll get the bias out of the way, or non-bias, and then we'll hear what Faces has to say. Tell me, why do you think your Heat might have the edge against this very good Celtics team?
They want it. They're hungry. We got 7 undrafted players.
Yeah.
Yeah, going hard, playing big minutes, rotation pieces, every single one of them. Like Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, boys out there scoring, putting up big numbers. I mean, Duncan less so this year, but Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, these boys is really putting in the work. Like, Jimmy is really on his dog bag. Had multiple prolific games this playoffs, and he still manages to not be in that same hunched over position when we saw him in in the finals back in the bubble. So like if he could do that, I feel like his condition is better. Bam still got to step up more. Kyle Lowry is actually playing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, as you know, two-time NBA champion coach already. So you got to look at the experience they got over there and the coaching staff. But as far as like on the floor, the Celtics definitely got it. Like uh Malcolm Brogdon's great. He's a good player, six man of the year. Um Brown could go off at any minute. Tatum just came with a 50.1 game, historic game 7. Um, Marcus Smart got good defense. But I feel like Miami's being slept on offensively. They can snap at any moment, pretty good from the three. And Jimmy Butler's just been dogging this year in the playoffs. So playoff Jimmy. That's what I'm going with.
Let's hear that rebuttal, faces.
They just don't have the firepower. Like this is a different team. The Bucks were in shambles. The Knicks certainly didn't have this level of firepower. It's a different thing to go up against this Boston team. Now, granted, this is a very weird Boston team, and they're very prone to kind of doing dumb shit for quarters and like blowing leads. And Jason Tatum has done a couple disappearing acts, so they have chances to steal games. They certainly have the better coach. It's just going to be tough for them to find the offense. And like, yeah, they got guys who can pop off, but they're smaller. Like they are smaller than the Celtics. The Celtics just have more options. A lot of the Miami guys are kind of like one-way guys. Like Duncan Robinson's a one-way guy. Like, they'll probably take a couple, but I don't know if they can hang for like a full 7-game series. And if they manage to win this series, they're goddamn warlocks. Like what does it take to kill this team?
Shambles or not. Shambles or not. They destroyed the Bucks.
Yeah.
The Knicks, like you said, Knicks had no business being in the playoffs. Jalen Brunson
No, they
basically.
had no business being in that series. Well, that's not true. They kicked the shit out of Cleveland. They had no shot winning the series.
Um, I don't know, like, but look at Boston's road to the fucking to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, they struggled their first set of
Well,
games.
Philly is better than either of the teams. Well, that's a true. I
Philly's
mean, they're not as
Joel Embiid came into the series hurt. If they had a healthy Joel Embiid, I don't think we'll be talking about
we'll talk about Philly in a
Celtics right
little,
now.
but like
Yeah.
I look, I think Boston's just deeper. I think they just have the bodies. I think maybe if a couple guys weren't as hurt on Miami. I mean, look,
Yeah, if we
again,
had
like the
Tyler Hero,
Lakers.
we talking about a different story right now.
Yeah, maybe, but they would still throw Tyler Hero in every single pick and roll. And
Yeah,
like and it's going to depend on how much if Rob Williams gets hurt, or there's probably going to be one stupid ass Al Horford game where he turns back the clock or something. But they're just deeper. It's a deeper team. And look, it's going to be like I don't think they're going to get blown out. Like I don't think we're going to see like a 30-point drubbing in any of these games, unless Miami gets like stupid hot and hits like 10 threes in a quarter or something. But I just don't think. I think they'll probably lose most of the games by like 10 to 15 because they just don't have the firepower.
Yeah, I think this is a short series too. Boston, even with the questionable decisions Missoula has brought forth, though he did a much better job in the final 2 games of the conference semis, I think the Celtics team is in a good position to take over. I find this to be a short series as well. And you don't even need Tatum to necessarily score 50 points in an elimination game every single time. And we know that he has been slow to start in certain games. But as long as he's facilitating, and you also have other role players doing their parts, whether it's Marcus Smart getting his assists, Jaylen Brown is another scorer. Hal Horford, we know there is definitely a playoff Al in there. If he does what he has to do, I think this is a great team of fundamentals, and that'll lead them back into the NBA Finals again.
I got 2 words for y'all, man. Foul trouble. foul trouble. Like,
For who?
yeah, Miami's smaller, which is prone to put Boston in foul trouble. That's the way I see it. A lot of
Okay, but
smaller
like
guys on.
they're deeper, so it's not as big a deal. Like who is Boston going to get? Is Miami going to get in foul trouble that's going to obliterate like Boston? Are they going to get?
So how often are you gonna have Pritchard guarding Jimmy Butler? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay, but like they just don't play Peyton Pritchard. They'll just switch. They'll play Derek White or Malcolm Brogdon. It
yeah. And
that's
how
not a
often do you want Derek White to get smoked by Jimmy, like getting cooked by
okay.
Jimmy? Derek White can like he's pretty defensively, but he's not about to stop Jimmy for
He
40
doesn't
minutes.
have to, but he's a good offensive player. So it's not like so Derek White isn't going to be the primary defender on it. Like it'll be probably Jalen. I think it's Jalen Brown who
He,
does it, but it's like they can throw guys like they'll throw Grant Williams at him. Fuck it, like
spoiler alert,
they
the Heat love to be down. I don't know if you paid attention this playoffs. When they're down, they love that shit. They're like they play harder or something. Like, and then you got like the Celtics. The Celtics like to, like you said, disappear. They literally like to just make blunderheaded moves. Like, I don't know, like not show up for like a 9-0 run. You feel me? Like, where are you guys defensively? You guys know that they got shooters over there in Miami. Why you
yeah,
guys
but a
aren't?
9-0 Miami run could take 15 minutes.
Or it could take about three. I'm just,
Yeah,
just
yeah, it could take either of them, but I don't like. I think they got a little bit of a swagger from coming back in that. So I think they're going to be a little more focused in this series. The real question is, does Missoula understand how to do timeouts and shit? Like that's like that
but
like that's like, I just don't see it.
and then that's the next thing. You got a fresh new coach, right? Eric Spoelstra's been here before several times. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not his first. Like, yeah, he went
I,
there with LeBron,
the
but he's been
fresh
there
the fresh
since
coach just
after
beat him last year.
without LeBron. What?
The fresh coach just
Ime
beat him
did it
last
like
year.
in the last Eastern Conference
Granted,
Finals. Ime.
granted, Ime is a better coach than than Missoula, but like it like literally just happened.
Yeah, well, that was a Miami team that was lacking in a bit of depth, if you ask me. But like,
They had more depth than this team.
Yeah, you're missing a top star or a top player for them.
Yeah, like
true.
look,
But
it's a good year for them. I still think they should trade Jimmy Butler. Bam coming out of his shell
whoa, chill out. I
at
mean,
least the
last year we didn't have Kevin Love. Kevin Love does provide a slight bit of a presence,
With his
rebounding,
baseball
3 points,
passes.
baseball passes that have been prolific. Like, come on, like they've come, like they've sparked runs, they've helped continue and carry runs. Like,
Yeah,
like
I'm not disagreeing that this isn't a good team. I'm just saying you're not as good and you're not as deep as the Celtics. Like you're not going to get
well,
your ass. You're not going to get KD. Like there's no world where Miami loses a closeout game by like 35 points unless the other team goes like 15 for 25 from 3-point range. Like unless that type of shit happens, you're not going to lose a game by 35 points. Like you're going to
spoiler
lose it by
alert,
10 to 15 points because they're just a little bit better than you. They have a little bit more weapons.
spoiler alert, you called a baseball pass. Kevin Love just got an assist off of one. Like, like literally, like this game is like pretty good right now. Miami just was down 10. They're tied up right now. You gotta understand. You gotta understand. Miami has been proving themselves over and over again to be a team that you cannot count out.
Okay.
So Miami in 6 again, and I called that last time in the New York City. Miami in 6. Let's get it.
I'm going with Boston in 5. Close out at home.
I also
Yo, if we take this game in Boston, Miami in 6.
All right. I definitely want to, when we check in next week with it, we'll see how far it goes. So let us eulogize the 4 teams that were knocked out in the second round of the playoffs. Let us start with the Philadelphia 76ers. They were up 3-2 in this series. Game 6 at home. They blow it with a late Tatum rampage. Game 7 looks like they didn't even show up. They lost that game 88-112. and their season is done here in this trust the process era. Few days later, Doc Rivers, despite 2 years on his contract, he's fired. There are reports of James Harden wanting out to return to Houston and join Ime Udoka there. And like I said, this was supposed to be the trust the process era. What did it start in about 2015, 16? And all these years later, they still haven't even made a conference finals. It's time to blow this team up once and for all. They're clearly taking one step in getting a new coach. And now we're going to see what's going to happen next. But ultimately, talk to me about the future of the Sixers team and what's going on there.
Well, okay. So the most predictable thing that would happen in this playoffs is James Harden would shit the bed in a big game.
Called that.
Literally everybody called that. And that's like the most predictable thing in every single season is James Harden will shit the bed in a big game. Like it is just it's like clockwork. Now they gotta blow it up. Like the only way you don't blow this up is if you do a 3-team deal where James Harden ends up in Houston. You send like the 3rd pick or the 4th pick and like Jalen Green and I don't know, like one other dude, something else to make the math work to Portland, and they get and Philly gets Damian Lillard. Like
people saying Jalen Green to Portland.
Yeah, because Portland gets all the picks and the players and shit, so they send Damian Lillard to Philly. Other than that, you got to blow this shit up.
Dame not leaving Portland.
Right. Well, hold on. We'll talk about Portland later, but like that's the only reason not to blow this shit up. Like you can't bring back James Harden. You just can't. Like it's the most cursed team in the history of the league if you bring back James Harden. And also, like, where are you going to get better? Like, I don't know if they have a first round pick. I don't think they do. I think if Brooklyn has it.
No, yeah, you're right.
Jesus, if I'm Philly, I'm tossing James Harden over to Dallas. I'm bringing Kyrie in.
Oh, yeah, but Dallas is not going to trade for James Harden.
Nobody wants that mess with Kyrie. Kyrie might as well retire, and I think he wants it too. He might as well with this.
So the James Harden report that Matt brought up was he wants a 4-year deal, and he wants to be in a place where he has the freedom to be James Harden, which I assume is to just get fucked up in strip clubs all the time. And yeah, like, I don't know why you'd want James Harden. Like, it doesn't make sense for him to go to Houston. Like, they're not going to win. You're not going to win in Houston. That team is so disorganized. And
that's also the joke about James Harden. Does James Harden even want to win?
No. James Harden.
Not that
James
guy.
Harden's like, if James Harden wanted to win, he wouldn't have blown it up in Oklahoma City like a decade ago.
Right.
Which is crazy that was a decade ago. Like, so much shit stuff. Anyway,
Philly, no.
I look, I'm sorry. They had their fun with this. Like, it's not going to work. I don't know whether you go. Like, you have to. You're gonna do whatever you do with James Harden. You can't bring James Harden back in 4 years. Like, you can't. Like, even watching that first Nets series, I remember I was talking about this, saying he looks old. He doesn't have it. He had the 45. He has his moments. He's still a good passer, but he's not that like. And then where else? Like, you got to trade Tobias Harris. Probably that's like your only trade chip.
Are we talking about the NBA's best journeyman? Like, are we serious? Come on, dogs. Like,
but what journeyman are you when every single place you go to, you bring a bad vibe and a dark cloud to the team? You're responsible for coaches losing their jobs. You're responsible for having teammates having so much animosity. That's why it would make sense if you go to a team that's
and Russell
terrible.
Westbrook quit on him within a year.
Yeah.
The only person who lasted like a decent amount of time with him was Dwight Howard.
And he's playing in Taiwan now.
And listen, Dwight Howard got a ring.
Yeah, not with James Harden, though.
Yeah, I think it would just make sense to go to a team that's not going to win for a long time and, get your money, finish out your career. And then maybe in 10 years, he writes a book or he's in a tell-all podcast where he says, yeah, I probably could have tried harder. but I was just
It does, like,
living the
look,
life.
he's gonna be.
Writes a book. What's he gonna write a book about? How I sucked my way through the NBA? Like how I
Yeah, if it
botched
gives
up.
him enough money.
Like, yo,
I mean,
listen,
look, he has all the money. It doesn't
listen,
matter. He's gonna.
listen. James Harden is the Ryan Fitzpatrick of the NBA. Somehow, for some
He has a
strange
lot more to
reason,
lose.
this nigga keeps getting paid. We trying to figure it out. Who keep paying this brother? Like, can somebody please tell me? Because James
Okay, so I
Harden,
have a question then. Who would you rather pay for the next 4 years, James Harden or Kyrie?
Maxi,
Well,
No. Kyrie Irving or James Harden?
oh, Kyrie all day. Kyrie all day.
I guess Kyrie, because when
Without a doubt.
he's in the right place, in the right time, in the right opportunity, he has stepped up. Literally
Exactly.
banked a shot to win a championship. But
He won a championship.
but at the same time, if we're talking about two players where we don't know where their heads at, I do think Kyrie cares a slight bit more, if that means anything in this case.
I mean, they've won essentially the same amount. Like, the only reason Kyrie has a title is because of LeBron. Like Kyrie has won. No, this is not even like up for debate. Kyrie has won literally nothing without LeBron.
Yeah. If you talk about it in that sense.
So, like, at least with James Harden, you can win something. It may just be the regular season, and as long as you have like a guy who's going to carry you in the postseason, that's fine. But like, I don't know what this franchise does. I think you try to do a sign and trade with, I don't fucking know where he goes, and then you do the same thing with Tobias and just try to reload. But I think it's the process is, for all intents and purposes, is over.
Oh, dude,
Clearly,
I'm blowing the whole team up. I'm trading Joel Embiid. Like,
yeah, that was my last
but
question in this point. Joel Embiid, what's going to happen with him?
Well, the question is, like, yeah, he's really good in the regular season, but he's going to get hurt. Like, he always gets hurt.
A tale as old as time with the stars of the 2020s.
We got to talk about his performance in the playoffs. He had a 9-point drop in scoring from the regular season to the postseason. That is the largest drop in 25 years. Not only is it the largest drop in 25 years, it is a larger drop than all the MVPs combined in the last 25 years. Now, how much of that is him being injured? I don't know. But he certainly got shook in those last couple of games. And I don't know, like, maybe somebody else can figure out how to do it, but I don't know how much more you're going to get. If Joel Embiid's your second best player, you're probably going to win the title. But like, where would he go? Like, the Knicks are the Knicks going to trade for Joel Embiid?
Oh, wow. We're going to go into that conversation this summer, whether it's him or
that
Cat.
would be interesting. Y'all would
Miami?
I guess Mitch Robinson is going to be kicked to the curb, but this is a time to step up.
Miami doesn't have the pieces to trade for.
I would trade. I
don't see Joel as a New York kind of guy, though.
I would trade like 3 picks and like 4 players from Miami for Joel Embiid, and Bam is one of them. I love Bam, but he'd have to go.
Yeah, and I think those conversations with him, it will be decided, to see how far Miami goes. But
blow that bitch up.
I don't know. If
I think that's the general vibe, is they got to blow it up.
Yeah, and that means you have to hire. Don't get a veteran coach. Get somebody new in there. Don't get an available Mike D'Antoni. Don't do it.
Don't
get a younger coach. Get a
trying to win with the 2016 Rockets in 2023 is not an ideal idea.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's restart everything with. I don't know if this owner is going to focus more with his Washington Commanders and let you see Josh Harris is about to acquire the Commanders and let Daryl Morey do his thing, trade his baby away, James Harden, and the process has failed. Like, this will be a very fascinating case study on how this term was coined. You've had Ben Simmons go through the process, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, James Harden, and again, it's all turned into a mess, a real big mess.
But I mean, like, it's not like other teams haven't done this. like they didn't go to the degree that the Sixers did.
Yeah, with
for
all their
those couple
tanking
years.
to get that.
Right, but like Detroit's doing the same fucking thing. The Houston was doing the same fucking thing. Like the teams have been bad for like a lot. Like they didn't do it to
And they've made it to the conference finals sooner than the Sixers. Sixers haven't been there since 01.
Yeah, like it's not unprecedented. I mean, it was a little unprecedented the way they did it, but
yeah, they have to be like your Spurs, just naturally tank, and then you just get blessed with the first round pick.
Well, yeah, we'll get
that.
to the
like,
Spurs.
Seriously,
We'll get to the Spurs, but yeah.
Yeah, the only case of the 4 major sports I could think of that actually worked with the tanking is the Houston Astros, and they got caught cheating. So just naturally be bad, everyone.
And it's not like they changed the rules because of what Philly did, so it's not the same anymore.
What if the number 1 pick is a bust?
Oh, that's happened a lot.
Well,
yeah,
also,
again,
like the lottery is a crapshoot. Like if Joel Embiid is healthy the year he comes out, he's the number 1 overall pick. If people realize where the game is going, they're not taking Jahlil Okafor third. Like maybe they're taking Giannis or maybe they're taking swing at Porzingis. Like it's a crapshoot. It's hard. Like obviously having more bites at the apple is better. But
where is Porzingis?
Washington.
It's Washington.
But yeah, they have a long ways to go too. What a weird franchise. But the Sixers, the process, it's okay. Some processes literally fail, but it was worth trying.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. You got the MVP. You have an MVP. Like,
blow that bitch up.
Yeah, like you get it. Like sometimes you hit the ceiling and it sucks.
Fire Doc Rivers. Sorry,
Utah was the best team in the West for 3 years before they blew that shit up. Like, sometimes you got to pull the plug.
Yeah, facts. Let that balloon go, baby. What's next? Who else we killing off? Who else we saying goodbye to? I want to. Can we just shoot over to the Knicks? Come on, Matt, please.
Yeah. We'll do that after we talk about the Suns. So it goes east, west, east, west. So we have the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns made all these big moves in the middle of the season, trade away Bridges. They get Kevin Durant, and they make it to the playoffs. They win around. They play Denver. They make it a deep series. Then they get embarrassed at home, and their brand new owner, Matt Ishbia, fires a Coach of the Year winner in Monty Williams, and they are figuring out what they can do. But let me ask this one question, guys. We always talk about star power in the NBA, and this Suns team had some star power, no doubt about it, especially with Booker. Kevin Durant was healthy. Though Chris Paul was hurt in the end of the playoffs, he is Chris Paul still. Obviously, DeAndre Ayton's there. And despite that, despite the quote-unquote star power, they weren't able to make it work. And regarding this franchise specifically, and I think this really works with this Denver Nuggets team, but if we're just going to go to old school fundamentals and playing team basketball, does the Suns losing in this series prove that it's not about the star power? You have to get players that mesh well. Of course, you could have stars within that, but you can't just always go for the big names because it just may not mesh well.
No, you can't go for the big names in the middle of a series, in the middle of a season, and not have enough rotation players to have an actual team. Like,
Facts.
They had. So we talked about this in this Nugget series. 4 players on the Suns scored over 15 points in a game. Period. 4 players: Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Landry Shamet, and Cam Payne. You cannot win a series unless a whole bunch of other guys are scoring 14. They just did not have rotational players. And this is they should not have fired Monty Williams. That was a mistake. You cannot blow up your team in the middle of the season and then blame the coach for that. I mean, yes, losing by 40 again is embarrassing. it's a combination of them literally not having rotation players, and also maybe the Nuggets are really fucking good. So that's a combination. It's a bad look. But you have Devin Booker and Kevin freaking Durant. Like, you can dump Chris Paul on somebody. You can do a trade with Indiana with DeAndre. Like, they have ways to get better. You're gonna get guys off the scrap heap to come in and play like rotational minutes. Like, Jacques Lindell was in the San Antonio last year, and he fucking sucked. Like I was excited when we got him. We were hyping him up as this like really good. He sucked. He was bad. Like, but he played good, serviceable backup minutes. The fact that Bismack Biyombo was playing in playoff games in the year 2023 is a fucking mystery. Like, that man sucks too. He has been good since that one time in Toronto where he had 2 2020 games. That was the only games they won did that series, and then Orlando signed him to a 3-year contract because they didn't realize how basketball was played. Like, this team just. This is why when we talked about this trade, I said you can't judge them on this year. You got to judge them on next year. And yeah, they have a lot more questions going into next year than I think they expected. Like, the Ayton piece is bad. The Chris Paul thing is definitely bad. But like, you still have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And Devin Booker played out of his fucking mind. Like you give him a little help, he doesn't have to play that great, but he showed he could be the best player on a team that wins a series. Like, granted, all of this would be a totally different story if Kawhi and Paul George were made out of paper mache, because they would have fucking lost that series too. But you gotta give him another offseason to figure it out. Like, it's as simple as that. This is this is when you build a rec team. Like, you roll up with a bunch of random people. A couple of them are really good, but you play against a team that actually has cohesion. It doesn't matter how much better everybody else is if the other team is just deeper.
And you think the Suns are capable to turn it around within an off season? And do you think that coach to do that would be more of a veteran available? Maybe a Budenholzer? Again, if we want to bring, do we bring back D'Antoni?
No, you bring back, it's Nick Nurse. It's Nick Nurse. You have to get Nick Nurse.
Okay.
Like, I know, like, those are the 3 names. It's Bud, Nick Nurse, and Monty. I don't even know Bud is going to coach next year because his brother just died. He may take the year off. He probably should take the year off. But
wouldn't blame him.
If I was Monty, I'm going to New York.
If I was Monty, I'm going to Toronto. Like, if we're talking about this, because I know this isn't really
fire Tibbs.
We'll get into that. I don't think that's the case.
Of the available coaching positions: Philly, Toronto, Milwaukee, Phoenix. Obviously, Monty can't go back to Phoenix. Like, I think if you're willing to win a championship like next year, it's probably Milwaukee. But if you're looking for like to build a cohesive team and to have a little bit of to be able to build something, I think it's Toronto, because Masai Ujiri is a really good GM, and they have pieces to move and blow it up around Scotty. Like, it's not. I think that's where Monty should go, is Toronto. I think just switch Monty and Nick Nurse, but I would not hire Budenholzer if I was the Suns.
You know what? I agree with that. Monty in Toronto probably would do Toronto good to turn their whole organization back around, because we can't pretend like they weren't champions. Yeah, they should blow it up, and we can't pretend like they weren't just champions.
I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I would have got rid of Siakam, not because he's bad, but because next year he might not have that same trade value. You know what I'm saying? And I want to get as much as I can get to be prepared for next year.
I would have traded Obi. If somebody offered me 3 first-round picks for OG and Anunoby, they should have taken it.
I would have taken, bro, I'm trading everybody. OG, Van Vliet, everybody.
Yeah, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to sign and trade Van Vliet. They just may lose him. And that's like Scotty's good, but getting somebody in this like draft higher than what they ended with 12, I think, something like that, is just not for it. But this Suns team, it really just comes down to, they didn't have a fucking roster. Like, they were playing Torrey Craig big minutes. They were playing I don't even remember the wings they had. Hightower? Did they have a Hightower or was he in Miami? Like, who the fuck? Like,
I think
when they do
Hightower.
those, when they said those memes of like, hey, I'm this much of a fan that I watched like the Knicks when they had like a Leslie Spread versus the Lakers when it was like Wesley Johnson and like Ed Davis, like those type, like that's what Philly or Phoenix was running with, besides Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Like they just didn't have a team.
Bro, it might as well have been us on the court playing with them
For all we know, it was us. For all anyone knows, it was you and me.
legitimately. And I don't know about you, but I can get a couple rebounds. So you know what I'm
I
saying?
don't think you could get. I don't think we could get any rebounds in the
In the
NBA.
NBA, nah, I ain't getting no. I ain't street ball. Yeah, at the LA Fitness. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you meet me at the court downtown, like I'm getting some rebounds. But like maybe I might have been on the court, and that might
Yeah,
explain why they got blown out by 40.
like here's an interesting thought process. Could this team have won like a FIBA tournament? This Suns team is currently constructed. Like maybe if they're healthy, probably. But like, like that's not like that's a question you should ask yourself when the team loses. Could this team have won a FIBA tournament? And if the answer is
Yo,
no, then you're not going to win the NBA playoffs. Like they just didn't have the players. It comes down to as simple as that.
true. It's true. And I agree with you on that one. I'm not even gonna try to argue, but I could try to make a case for them boys. And yeah, they should never fight Monty. We was talking about it. Like that was like probably the saddest thing that came out of that one. I mean, that 40-point loss is pretty sad too. But nah, G, like this is pretty bad. Like this was pretty bad.
Yeah, and like I don't even know if we got a reasoning for firing Monty. Like
Yeah, they got none. They got none. They got none.
like it was the and because it sends a message to like as an organization because they've generally been a relatively good organization. Well, let me rephrase that. The last couple of years they haven't done anything like fucked up to the players. They've had their like big scandal issues with the previous owner, but generally they've treated their players like pretty well over the last couple of years. So it is weird that they
I'm
failed.
saying like so.
Matt, you want to eulogize the Knicks first?
Yeah,
Yes, I do. So, transferring over to the New York Knicks right now. The New York Knicks, all in all, I think I even said it at the preview show. The goal is to win a playoff series. They did that. They go into another playoff series as a favorite and ultimately underperformed to an extent, even though deep down it was true that the Heat were a better team, despite the Knicks' shortcomings, not having Emmanuel quickly, and despite giving us at least a game 5 to have one more awesome spring night in Madison Square Garden. We go down to Miami, and ultimately things did not work out. So now the future. So ultimately, this Knicks team has to focus on the future. And here it is. The New York Knicks, and what was a major problem in the regular season is obviously all signs point to Julius Erving. Julius Erving, my heart. So, all right, let me say this. My heart says Julius Erving's got to go. And there's
Julius Randle.
signs. Oh, wait, Julius Erving. Sorry, we're talking about Dr. J. Excuse me. Julius Randle, everybody. All signs point to Julius Randle being the crux of this team. If this guy is not having a triple-double, if this guy is not balling, he has a bad attitude, and he brings that bad attitude to that locker room and that bench and on the court. We've literally seen him put hands on teammates like Emmanuel quickly when he's mad. We've literally seen him flip off the fan base. And when he doesn't perform and when things look bad, he's automatically the scapegoat. And then you're going to be like those knuckleheads who ripped up his poster at a scaffolding in New York City. Now, I don't agree with that, and I don't hate him that much. I just don't think he's a New York guy, and this clearly isn't the place. We're only going to go as far as Julius Randle makes us. And I understand it's likely that he's going to stay, but this guy has to let his guard down, understand that it's more of Jalen Brunson's team, and they focus on that. The big thing we have to do is just re-sign Josh Hart to start off. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. And if there are any disgruntled stars who want to leave, Giannis, Luka, who knows what the possibilities are there, or more realistic chances like a Karl Anthony Towns. We just know that at the end of the day, despite a disappointing ending to the season, the Knicks at least can be taken seriously and actually taken seriously long term, not just one season like they did in 2021. But all of Face's criticism against this team is true, especially they could not score for shit. And you at least give props to Jalen Brunson giving everything he's got, because he did perform well in game 6. No one else did. And then the big question about RJ Barrett, is this time for him to go? I know that some people wanted to trade him, but he did perform well in the postseason. Maybe not in the final couple of games. No, definitely not in game 5, and sure as hell not in game 6. But he is still our young draft pick, 3rd overall, and there is still time to develop for him. And then also with Coach Thibodeau, I think you do have to give him at least one more year. He has led the team to 2 of the last 3. He's led the team to 2 postseasons in the last 3 years. I know people are worried about how much he plays his players and he runs them into the ground, but the guy is a good coach. He again deserves at least one more year. And of course, if that doesn't happen, it's time to go. But I think the big win now is the fact that we are at least take it seriously long term, and then maybe finally people want to come here.
Yeah, you have
Cost Thibodeau to lose, because Thibodeau has been one of those coaches that get you to the playoffs. The narrative never changes about him. He's old, driving coach, very old school, but he just can't win y'all the big ones. So because of that, I say toss Tibbs to the side. And
yeah, but who's going to be better? Who's going to be the difference maker there if we're going to really switch it up like that?
Monty, Nick Nurse, like
I mean, I get it. They're better coaching perspectives out there, but
it's not a coaching thing.
Exactly.
He got this roster as far as it's gonna like good. Like Tibbs has changed. Like he at least this season he played his younger guys more. He didn't drive his players in the ground as much. Like he was playing Brunson 48 minutes a game because everybody else at the end of that series was shitting themselves. Like it was Brunson or nothing.
Yeah, Deuce McBride wasn't going to come in to make big moves for us.
I'm getting rid of Toppin. And
don't. Well,
no, but there's no reason
RJ.
to. There's no it is very clear that Julius Randle as a cultural issue is not gelling with this roster. And I think there's a pretty good chance you could talk the Hornets into taking him. Something like him for a sign and trade with PJ Washington or something. But
just ran on a Thunder.
Like there's ways to get rid of him. He did like as bad as he was in the playoffs. This is the most successful run in New York sports history in this century. For the Knicks. Like that, you haven't made the second round since literally a decade.
Yeah, it's the 12-13.
And
that was a bad playoff series against Indiana.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson is better than anybody expected.
What a win! What a win picking him up this offseason.
Dallas giving up Jalen Brunson is basically going to cost them Luka.
Yeah, and that's going to put a detriment to the franchise for many years. It really is.
Yeah, that's how impactful he was. RJ was good he sucked in the first couple games of the playoffs, but he was relatively good during this run. You have some guys who can Quigley could get better. Josh Hart is a dog. Mitchell Robinson is never going to get better. He's just bad. He can't finish all the time. It is
doesn't score. Terrible free throw shooter.
It is alarming the number of
but
dunks
those
layups he misses when his range is dunk and layup.
I get that.
Can I interject real quick? Jaylen Brown might be down on a wild pileup on the court in the Miami Celtics game. He's holding his arm, screaming.
Okay, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. Um,
Look, this is, and I've said this is the best outcome you could have hoped for. This series should have gone 5. It went 6 because you took the game where Jimmy was hurt, but you got the New York game in New York. So, like, be happy. Again, this is the
yeah.
thing that hurt. This was the thing that we talked about when they won the first series. Do not turn into the what was it, 2021 Hawks, where you think you're better than you actually are. Like, I think this Knicks team has a grasp of exactly how good they are, and they can smartly pick, because it's not like you don't have like a bunch of draft picks and shit that you can go after somebody. I think going after Towns is probably a mistake.
Yeah, I
think
we
certainly
don't
going
need to
after
get him. That's getting a big name for the sake of getting a big name.
right. I think
I
the same
mean,
thing with Levine. I wouldn't trade for Zach Levine either.
nah,
Uh,
what you need, what y'all need, literally is a solid. I get like a Jared Allen for y'all, like literally a big man. Like y'all, like Mitch was pretty good, but y'all need someone.
But
no, no, I
Cleveland's not
wouldn't.
going to give him up when
Yeah, and
they could
also
possibly
Jared
have him.
Allen's not that much of an upgrade. You need like an actual. I think really what you need is like a wing. Like I don't know what's going on with Cleveland or with the Clippers, but I mean, if Paul George is available, go sign Paul George.
Or like a
I mean,
get
You think so?
like a
I would,
Bogdanovich,
or I wouldn't get. Yeah, maybe if you could
the
trade
one
him for
from
like
the other one, not the
Detroit.
yeah, the one in Detroit.
Yeah,
No, no,
that
no,
like
no, 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 no. Not the one that used to be on the Jet. The one that used to be on the. Is he still on the Hawks? Or
oh
is that
that one.
Boban?
Well, I think
Is
it
it
doesn't matter. It
one of
doesn't
the
matter.
get the other Bogdanovich.
The one in Atlanta or the one in
Yeah,
Detroit.
get that Bogdanovich. Like he'll upgrade your wing shooting and probably like somebody's gonna 3 and D. And y'all
Yeah,
and
or depend maybe sign Joe Ingles. Like Joe Ingles in the
yo,
offseason would
I
be a
wanted to
good
say Joe Ingles, but I thought he might be too old. Like
but yeah, but you don't need Joe Ingles for like the regular season. You need him kind of for the playoffs to be that connector guy. Like he's fine for that, and it would help a lot of the younger guys. I think like you don't need a home run swing right now. You hit it last year. You figure out what you do with Randall, and then you kind of move on.
like if we don't keep Kevin Love, y'all should pick a Kevin Love up. Someone who's gonna come alive for y'all in the
Why are we gonna
playoffs.
pick up Kevin Love? He's not gonna make the difference.
Someone who's
The
gonna
Knicks
come
have to
alive for
win
y'all in the
now.
playoffs.
Remember, the Knicks are also I think they were literally the youngest team in this postseason.
And
They
why
need to
wouldn't you pick up
grab
Kevin
on
Love
that
then? Kevin
because
Love's got
Kevin
the
Love is
experience.
38 years old
Yeah, that's the
he
that's the
was a
other thing.
lucky
Like,
renaissance there. There's no we need to get
He said a
somebody who's
renaissance.
ready to. We need
right,
somebody
you this
who's
is
going to be with us for 5 years.
yeah, you're young. The East is not getting better. Like think about who's like Philly's probably going to be like there's like 4 teams that are going to be good in the East. It's like the
That's
Celtics.
always.
Yeah, but like that are actually going to be there. Like the Celtics are going to be there. Giannis, as long as he's there, they're going to be good. Philly will probably good as long as Embiid is there, but you don't know how long that's going to be. And
Don't count
Cleveland
Miami.
and like Cleveland and like that's it. Like those are the teams for the next like 5 years that you're looking at. And Orlando, because they're going to be good in a couple of years. Like Orlando and Pistons are the teams that are coming up. Them Orlando Pistons and the Pacers are like 2 years away from being where you are. Actually, the Pistons might be a year away, but like you don't need to rush it. You're in a good spot to like organically grow for a year because this is not a good free agent class. Like
Yeah,
just
that's
grow
the
for a
thing
year.
too. It's 2024 is the exciting one. And we'll take that, and who knows who maybe we hit on the draft with the 11th pick overall, which we're taking Dallas's pick. But ultimately, it wasn't tragic how this ended. We did overachieve to an extent, and ultimately, we just have to keep building on this core. And yeah, we do need another big star. And I kind of agree more with the wing prediction too. I know there are people who want to be crazy and say maybe get Dame and put another guard in there, but I don't think that's likely. And ultimately, I think it's this what we decided to do with Julius Randle, but I'm expecting he's going to stay. We'll just have to work with him.
Y'all could pick up like an Al Horford, man. Someone, yeah, I
And
know he's
he's
old
still
and y'all
got
need to
like two
win
years
now.
left,
Yeah, I know he's old and y'all need to win now, but he's gonna
but they
give you
don't.
solid veteran presence. He's gonna give you work every single day. and
You know,
playoff experience.
I'm not saying we're going to be the Warriors, but if we take a similar path of a Warrior team pre-dynasty where
Like get the
well, what I mean was a joke franchise at one point because the Warriors were a huge joke before Curry got there. And if we, develop within a few years, make the playoffs, go be better by better, you know, get to each round, get better by each round. And then at one point, whether it's the star coach coming in, Steve Kerr, as soon as he took over from Mark Jackson, we know what happened there. If all things click at once, that would be great. But this is hopefully the start of a legitimate era where Jalen Brunson is the number one and leading us to legit success. But that's what I have to say regarding the New York Knicks. Very interesting offseason to see what they do. And
Get rid of
speaking
your
of,
coach.
again, I think Thibs gets at least one more year, and we'll see what he does with it.
Monty should have got one more year.
Golden State, they lose to this. They lose to the Lakers in 6. Sorry, they lose to the Lakers in 7. Lost it. They got eliminated in 6 games. And the Warriors, the big question here is the Warriors dynasty over?
Yes. Get rid of Steve Kerr. Let Steph Curry finish his career out. Get rid of Draymond or let him walk. Um, don't get rid of Clay. Just let Clay and Steph be like the perennial Warriors. Let them just stay there or finish their career as Warriors. Hang their jerseys up. You know what I'm saying? Splash Brothers. Start building around Jordan Poole, Kuminga, trade Wiggins probably, but I'm definitely getting rid of Steve Kerr. You know what I'm saying? Wiseman, if he's still there, he can go
Why
to.
get rid of Steve Kerr?
yeah, that's nonsense. No, look, it's probably over, but like the thing they're gonna do now is they gotta try to duck the tax. Like they're probably gonna get rid of Jordan Poole because I think Kuminga's probably gone too. Like it was admirable that they tried to like what they did made sense. The two timelines thing with these young guys, with the Wiseman, the Moody, the Kuminga, and the Poole. And unfortunately, only Poole popped, but he only popped last year, and then he sucked. Like in hindsight, taking Kuminga over Franz is a huge mistake. Like that's a huge mistake. And it's not like Moody's not a bad player. Like he has a lot of potential. He could be better. And then letting Gary Payton go and then having to give up the asset that is James Wiseman to bring him back is another compounding mistake. I think it's the shifting away from Poole and Kuminga to try to like duck the tax and then try to recoup
Yeah,
some
that's the
stuff.
one thing I read. Don't mean to interrupt, but I heard if you, especially bring back Draymond Green, you might owe as much as $500 million over the luxury
Yeah,
tax.
like
That's nuts.
It's gonna be an insane like tax because this is not like the Clippers. Like the Clippers are it's mostly Steve Ballmer. Like the Golden State is owned by a bunch of different people.
Yeah, exactly. So he could take it off. That's weirdly chump change for Steve Ballmer.
Right. It's not like Joe Lacob is not paying $500 million. Like there's a bunch of people paying it in together, and especially for a team that's not going to be a title contender. Like if you're bringing Draymond, like I don't know if you let them. Like I don't know. Like I don't think Clay's going in, but you're not bringing Clay back for 4 years for like $250 million. You bring him back for like 3 for 90. And it's like the same thing with you kind of give them that that like Kobe sweetheart deal where it's like front loaded and then descaling so that because that's what they mean. Like all 3 of them are getting their banners and statues at whatever their new arena is. Like that's clear. They were this dynasty. But I don't know how much better they're going to get without making like this is the most fascinating team because I don't know where they go. Like I don't even know how to process what they're capable of because they don't like I don't think that Draymond's leaving, but I don't know what the market for him is.
Yeah, that's does a team want to take an aging Draymond Green?
I think Dallas does. I think Dallas will.
Honestly,
Dallas,
if I was New York, I would take him.
Everybody go to New York. I don't think Draymond Green is going to be adding, Larry Johnson like in the 90s.
I don't. It's just too hard to tell what's going on with this team. Like there's, I think we'll have a
Yeah,
better
you never hear their
clear
owner
picture.
talk you never hear their representation talk
I
or
think
anything
after
like
the
that.
draft, we'll have a better idea of what this team looks like. Because it'll be, we'll get an idea of if they're shopping Kaminga and Poole for like picks and stuff, or if they're shopping Wiggins, or if they're going to like salary dump some guys. Like
Yeah,
that's what.
I like your point about especially the draft and finding placements. Like if we're again comparing to another sport like Houston Astros and MLB, they're dominant, but they know how to draft well and develop in their system, so they don't have to pay these steep contracts. Um, and it seems like the Warriors just didn't do that. But in a league like the NBA, where if you have a small core of 3 to 5 guys and they can stay healthy for, this era is what, 7 years old, 7, 8 years, it works. But you can't be father time. You really
And
can't.
they have the opposite problem of like the Knicks. Like the West is definitely getting better. The
Yeah.
West is going to get a lot fucking better really quickly. And how are they going to keep up is the question.
Very interesting stuff. And how can we keep up with Ja Morant? We saw Ja Morant on Instagram Live this week, or I should say this past weekend, showing another firearm. This is in reaction to 2 months where he was showing off a gun in a strip club in Denver. He gets caught. He meets with Adam Silver, the commissioner. He has a long talk with him. He goes to rehab in Florida. He gets suspended 8 games. Back in the playoffs, they get knocked out by the Lakers, and then he gets caught again with a gun. You can see how visibly upset Commissioner Silver was during the draft lottery. I don't know if you saw that interview or not, but he was upset. He himself said it might get to be the worst case scenario for him, whether that's a 30, 40 game suspension, so half a season. I think Ja Morant has to face the music this time because he made the commissioner look really bad, apologizing. And, he said a statement that definitely was written by some PR team. Maybe it was written by Chad GBT, but it didn't seem sincere. And not that that matters or anything, but I think Ja Morant really has to learn his lesson from this. Do you guys agree?
Okay, so there's two things to this. One, what Ja did is not worse than what Kyrie did. Like, let's be very clear about this. Like, what Ja did is incredibly stupid. And we'll probably get to the JJ quote, but like, I cannot believe he did it again. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot believe he did it again. I just don't like. I don't know what they're. I don't know how you like. You just need better people around you at this point. And maybe they find him a fuck. Maybe he has to sit a bunch of games. But I this is like, it's a maturity thing, and I don't know where it goes from there. But I think I have issue with JJ's statement.
So could you give us or I'll first get Barr's thoughts on this, and then we'll hear the JJ statement. And also, Jaylen Brown is back on the course. We're glad to see him there.
Yes, correct. Jaylen Brown is back on the court. Look, I ain't got shit to say about Ja Morant. Nothing at all. What that brother do, what that brother do is what that brother do. All I gotta say is, you give me that kind of money, you give me that kind of status, that kind of fame. Only time I'm going on live is when I'm dunking. That's it.
Yeah, he
Only
doesn't
time I'm
have to
going on
add to
live.
his social status exactly.
Yeah, there's a parade in his city, all right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean it's tough, and I've heard people talk about how he's just exercising his Second Amendment rights and stuff, but it's the fact that this is a second offense that he did go out of his way to apologize and say he changed, and he ultimately didn't. Doesn't seem that way. So, can you talk about what JJ Redick said
He's
about
like a
Ja
big
Morant?
JJ, I generally think JJ might be like one of the best, if not the best, like basketball guys currently going on. Like listening to him is like really insightful and stuff. That's why apparently he's being looked at for possible head coaching position.
Yeah, he interviewed for the Raptors job.
Yeah, I don't know if that was for the head coach or front office position. I think I saw conflicting reports on that. But
Really?
so
I thought it was
JJ's
head coach, but
response,
okay. But you were saying?
JJ's response was he did two things. He goes, okay, so there's a mass shooting in Texas, and Greg Abbott goes on and says, buy more guns. And then he says, okay, this is there's people who they just take more guns than the answer. He's like, why are we bringing the hammer down on this 23-year-old kid? Well, there's two reasons. One, John Morant is a better person than Greg Abbott. He is just like he is. Like he is, and it's a different type of role model that John Morant is than who Greg Abbott is. Like they have different levels of power. Greg Abbott, obviously being a governor, has the ability to change things and has adamantly refused to. Granted, people have the ability to change things. They chose not to. This is what you vote for. This is what happens. But it's a different thing when it's an athlete. You have a different type of responsibility, especially as a young athlete growing up in America in this day and age. You have to understand the climate that's happening. You can't expect a politician who's been this way for decades to change. But a young athlete growing up with this should know better. That's why the hammer's the hammer. We don't know what the punishment is. You cannot say they're bringing down a hammer on a player. We do not know what the punishment is. And we will be able to gauge it. Like we know what Miles Bridges got for beating the shit out of his girlfriend. We know what the Battles of the Palaces. We know what Ja got for this previous offense. Like we know these things. But the answer is not, well, why is Ja being punished more than these other people? Because one, they have the ability to hold him accountable for his own actions. In which case, you cannot hold Greg Abbott accountable for his actions until it's an election. Ja has to be able to use his platform in a more responsible way. And that's really what it comes down to. He's irresponsible with his platform in a climate where he should know better, especially after the first time.
150% agreed. It all comes down to, and I hate when people give me the talk when I say this shit. Like, cause I say it a lot about celebrities, like rappers and shit. But you're a role model. You know what I'm saying? When you have a certain level of status, when you have a certain level of fame, you become a role model. Kids out here talking about, yeah, I'm trying to be like John Morant. So you trying to hold up a gun on live? Like you trying to be more than what you are. Like you see what I'm saying? So then you got to put that in perspective for people. When you have platforms and you can reach out and you can say some shit, is what I'm about to say the right thing? Who's going to be affected? Who's going to follow what I'm saying? Who views me as an idol? Eminem got a song. Who knew, right? I never knew I could get him to do all of this shit, right? The same thing. You're a role model. You're in the light. You have the platform. You got the room and the stage to 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 influence the younger generation, especially since they all up and down social media. Like social media is more prevalent now than it was when we were younger. So now it's just like everything social media. You're on social media waving guns. Now you getting these little kids that was hooping to think, okay, I can hoop and wave guns. It's just not a
Yeah,
good look.
and it's also like if this is part of what the NBA has to. I think they try to do this with their rookie. They have I think probably all sports have this. Like when you're a rookie, you go to like seminars to kind of teach you how to be like professional in this level because it's a lot. It is a lot to be able to deal with this. You're a kid who grew up in poverty or you've never had this type of spotlight on you. It's a lot to learn how to deal with, and it appears, especially in Ja's case, that the people he's used to being around him aren't the best influence on him, and it may take him a little longer to grow up. Like, remember, he's 23. When I was 23, I mean, obviously, I wasn't waving guns around and shit, but like, you're kind of still an idiot. Like 23-year-olds, are still idiots.
Yeah.
And it's a maturity thing, and he has to, or somebody around him has to be able to talk to him about the people around him, and for him to be able to make a better decision about who he spends his time with. Like
Right.
there's a reason that some of some of these camps don't leak, or these players don't do this, is because they have better representation, or they have better people around them take care of it. And this may just be a two thing that he learns from. But you gotta understand, like, you gotta be better. Not just because somebody else is bad doesn't mean that you get the right to be bad. And he just needs to be better. And he owes it to his fans, and he owes it to his team, and he owes it to his teammates. Like, this
Also,
Grizzlies team
like,
is just like fallen off a cliff in the last year.
Very sincere takes. I respect it. Bars, you have one more thing to say before we finish up
um,
with the lottery?
he honestly he owes it to himself too, because he's better than that. He should really be beating himself up because he knows he's better than that. As a young
Yeah, but
man,
think
look what
about
you
how much
accomplished.
people loved him like 2 years ago.
NBA Rookie of the Year. I I was all in that John Morant boat. See what I mean? Like, and then you do this dumb shit like this. Still in your boat. Still in your boat. Still in your boat. Just want you to make better moves as a role model and as a young man. And as a young black man. I was trying to keep race out of it as long as I could. But he gotta look at his actions as an athlete, and then he gotta look at his actions as a black man in America. What are you doing?
Very sincere points. We appreciate that. So let's finish it off with the NBA draft lottery. Everybody's favorite lottery to watch in this country, in this world. So we know the way they pick their teams, the way they pick their draft picks is through a lottery system, and this is what happened. The results are in. The San Antonio Spurs are picking number 1 in the 2023 NBA draft. We then have the Charlotte Hornets at 2, Portland Trailblazers at 3, Houston Rockets at 4, and the Pistons are at 5. Those are your top 5. The top 14, you also have the Magic appearing a couple of times. The Mavericks are picking at 10, but pick is going to the Knicks. We have the Wizards, Jazz, Pacers.
It's the 10th pick stays with Dallas. If it fell out of the
Oh, well,
top 10,
sorry. Yes, it was the 11th. Yes, you're right. So Dallas will pick number 10. And very interesting franchises trying to change their ways and get better. But let's talk to the Spurs fan himself. Got to tell me, Faces, how do you feel about your team picking number 1 after some very, very disappointing seasons?
look, all I could say is this is the best place for women is San Antonio. We got David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Wembanyama. Like, when you tank correctly, like, still be aggressive, you get blessed by the basketball god. So in all seriousness, like, holy shit, am I happy? And this is like, so this comes down to two questions real quick. How aggressively do you want to build around him, and can you build that aggressively? Because there's the big factor of the fact that he's 7'5", and guys that big, there's always the potential for knee injuries. But on the other hand, the Spurs have $30 million in cap space. Like, they have good guys to build around. I had an idea originally, is you do a trade with the Suns, and you get Aiden for, like, Keldon Johnson, and I don't know, whatever else makes the math work, something like that. But you only give up, like, Keldon, because Jeremy Sohan's like a 3 more, and Keldon's a little small. And you need a big to bang with Wemp for somebody to basically bang, so Wembanyama doesn't have to. But I don't know. After this pick, it doesn't matter for the Spurs. Like, it's off season's time. So maybe you take in on a Chris Paul contract for something else, or you take on a contract to look for like a year to build around. But we don't know. Like I think we take the year to figure out how fucking good he's going to be, because this free agent class sucks anyway. So it's not like we're really gonna get like big improvements in free agency, and then see how good he is, and then figure it out next year. But like, we fucking Wembanyama. It doesn't matter at this point. You got the guy who makes everybody else in your team fall into place. Like the draft starts at 2. I mean, the draft always started at 2, but now it really starts at 2 because let me tell you, I don't know what more you guys are gonna say, but I got a lot to say about the next couple picks and like the myriad ways this draft can change the franchise.
All right. Bars, tell me what you think about the number 1 overall pick.
To be honest, I'm not really much of a college basketball guy, but I hear this Wembanyama guy is like really like what he talked about. He's the guy that everyone's expecting to go first. I think he's going to be a bust, but you know I just got to be the dark horse to call it out now. So when later on he is a bust, right? And I'm not saying this because he's going to the Spurs.
And Bars dropped. Okay, well, hopefully we'll get him back after that. But okay, why don't we discuss more about the other picks? So, which ones are particularly of interest of you? Is it between you said the next 3 pick, or you said the next 3
Well, the
picks?
next
So
obviously through 5 matter. Like those are the big teams. So at 2, there's 2 options. It's Scoot or Brandon Miller. Personally, and fit wise, I want them to take Brandon Miller because I want them to rebuild the Jailblazers in Charlotte. So you Brandon Miller potentially going to prison because of whatever happened with him in this potential murder, and then you have Miles Bridges on the same team. I just think that's very funny. I think they should take Scoot because if they take Brandon Miller, that changes everything at 3. So Portland has 3, and according to them, they're going to try to trade the pick to get a star. And the problem with that is no player available is going to make you a title contender with just that pick. Like it's just not going to happen. Like the best you're going to get is I'm going to wait for Bars to come back and for me to say this because I got 2. So Portland's at the crossroads. If they trade this pick, they're going to build around Damian Lillard, which terrible idea. Like you're not going to win a title with Damian Lillard at this point. You trade the pick. The best you're going to get is Bradley Beal. I think that's like the only guy who's going to make you move the needle a little bit for this pick. So you do the 3rd pick and Simons and whatever else makes the math work for Bradley Beal. That's like the best you're going to get for this pick. What they should do is trade Damian Lillard. Now, we already talked about the Houston pick. The true sleeper pick, the sleeper pick for Damian Lillard is Orlando. It's Damian Lillard to Orlando for 6-11, some combination of what's his face? Either Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs. I think you need Jonathan Isaac in there to make the math work, and then I don't know, Chekwa Kumwa. I don't really know what contracts they have just to make the math work, but I think Damian Lillard in Orlando is the sleeper move that everybody wins at because there is no team that can protect Damian Lillard better than this fucking Orlando team. Like that would be the best place for him to go.
Damian Lillard to the Orlando Magic. I mean, yeah. I mean, he clearly is not afraid to go to small franchises.
And they need a point guard,
them.
and he's perfect. Like he can, if he needs to take games off, you can just have the young guys go. It's the and the other thing is that he has so much extra time on his contract because of that massive extension. They have him through like 2026 for like $60 million. It's not like they're not going to be able to re-sign their own guys. It's a young core that's just going to grow. Like that is the ideal spot for him. Like maybe they're not great for his first year, but they're going to get better.
I feel the same way. I really do. And we have Bars back. And can you just put your phone horizontally for us? So your computer. Yeah, we'll get that full screen going. Thank you. So Bars, do you mind just restarting your take again about the Spurs?
Yeah, like I said, it's nothing against Spurs in itself. It's more like I just feel like, it's about time we got a number 1 bust, and I feel like there's all this hype around Wembanyama, And I feel like a lot of these players are coming in the league nowadays, tall, lanky, and not really doing anything. Taco Fall, like you know what I'm saying? Like, so we just got to take all that into account. He might even drop, and the Spurs might be.
That is not happening.
He said that's
There
not
will
happening.
be riots in San Antonio if they don't take it.
Hey, but listen, if they take Wembanyama, hopefully that brings San Antonio back into good basketball because I like that. Hey, you talking about like the Spurs getting Wembanyama? What if they trade the number one pick and picked up Damian? I pulled up back in a weird part of the conversation, but I hear Damian getting thrown around. I'd throw the number one pick away for Dame.
But you're an idiot.
I don't know.
Victor Wembanyama might be the greatest prospect in basketball history. Like,
and Michael Jordan got drafted second.
Michael Jordan got drafted third. Michael
Third?
Jordan wasn't 7'5" and shot threes. Like, they're not. This would be the equivalent of trading the pick that came. This is basically the equivalent of Cleveland trading the LeBron pick. That's what we're talking.
Let's see how he translates into NBA basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be fucking awesome. But like, that's not what. After the first pick, that's where it changes. Like, it's. I still think Dame to Orlando was the best bet for him, but I think them trading this pick for nothing is a mistake.
Listen, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We got to hear it recorded. But I think Wembanyama is going to be a Webum bust.
A Webum bust. How do you feel about this? Do you think Wembanyama is going to be a bust?
Are you asking me that?
Oh, yeah, faces.
Oh, absolutely fucking not. The only way he busts is if he gets hurt. That like you can't be this big. Like, the shit we see him doing is just unbelievable. Is he going to be, the best player in the league in a year? No.
I think he's ever going to be the best player in the league.
Well, what is this? Somebody on ESPN said he's going to be the best player in 3 years. I have no idea. Like,
but how do you compare that to the competition in France? No offense to France, but they're not the NBA or the
league. So, the Ringer did a really interesting piece comparing his numbers, and they basically compared him to Luka. And he stacks up pretty favorably. But the thing is, like, Luka was playing in a better league. Wembanyama plays like one game a week. Like, it's not going to directly translate. Like, he may struggle. Like, if he sucks the first, 10 games of his career or something, or if he's not, like, an unbelievable world beater in year one and the Spurs aren't, like, the 4th seed, okay? He's 19. It is a massive jump, especially for the height, like, that he's had.
Man, he's going to be a bust the first 5 years in the league.
That's absurd.
I'm listening to all the intangibles right now. He plays one game a week. He plays in a shittier. No,
it's not. First off, every league outside of the U.S. is shittier. But he's playing the number 3 league, and that's just how they play their games, is once or twice a week. He's still you can extrapolate a lot based on what he's done, and you can see him doing crazy.
It's not basketball. We're talking about sending him up against guys who live this shit, who play 82 games a fucking season, literally.
Yeah. And this is the same. Look, he's played essentially the same amount of games that a college player has played. It's not. He's just doing it against pros instead of against college players.
How many college players? I could list a few college players look real good in college, come out to be straight busts.
Yeah, he's not gonna bust unless he gets hurt.
Well, that's my take on it. I don't really got the reason why I don't watch the draft and shit is because I don't have time to pay attention to who busts and who don't, because a lot of these dudes turn out to be nothing. Look at fucking Shabazz Muhammad. He was supposed to come out and do some shit. Did nothing.
Yeah, but that was a decade ago. And they're look at Giannis. He wasn't supposed to do anything.
Look at
Jokic.
Andrew Wiggins was supposed to be the next LeBron.
Andrew Wiggins won a title.
Jabari Parker.
Golden State won that title.
He won a title with Golden State. Yeah, he did put the work in, and I praised him for that work.
He was their second best player.
But I praised him for that work. But Jabari Parker was supposed to be the next Carmelo Anthony, and I guess that's right. I guess that's right. So look at it. Anthony Bennett, former number 1.
Yeah, Anthony Bennett is he was a bust.
We can name these players down. Trey Burks. Unfortunately, Victor Oladipo falls on that list. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, but Victor falls on that list the same reason Jabari does. They just got hurt.
yeah, like sadly, but I'm
Can
not
I
keeping
say
them off.
can I
Can't keep
say
them
one
keep them
thing?
off.
Bach, I just want to, I don't know if you saw this quote I saw on NBA Central, and I'm going to ask the Spurs fan it. According to a rival scout on the Spurs this is a rival scout and his comments towards the Spurs getting the number 1 pick. Quote, fuck that. Those guys have gotten luck already. They already got Tim and Dave. Being able to draft the 3 best center prospects in the last 35 years would be some bullshit. How do you
Okay,
react
but
to
like,
that?
or wait, hold up. First off, Orlando got Shaq and Dwight. Like, Shaq won way more titles than fucking David Robinson did.
And Dwight did win a title.
Yeah, but it wasn't with Orlando. Like,
Nah, neither
that
was
just
Shaq.
sometimes
Any of his 4.
like sometimes that's just how it worked. Like, people are just salty. Like, like, to be fair, I would be salty if we didn't get Wemby too. And I said this, I wanted him to either go to San Antonio or Detroit. I didn't think Houston deserved him for how much of a dumpster fire they were. I just don't want Charlotte to be good because it's just funny when they're bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, I didn't realize Portland had such a good shot at him. I also don't think they deserve Wemby because they really should just be blowing this up. They're wasting Dame's career. So yeah, it just sounds like cry harder, cope more. That's all I gotta say to that.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. And the last thing to mention, Miami did win game 1. And Miami won 123 to 116. I know we just talked about it at the top of the show, but do we have any other comments? Do you think this is the only win Miami's going to get?
Miami
Fresh
6.
faces. Bars, you were definitely more confident. What do we think about Miami winning game 1?
I honestly, I only watched the first half. I have to go back and see what else happened, so I can't make enough judgments. It seems like Jimmy Butler.
Miami owned the third quarter.
Yeah, I know they scored 40 in that quarter. I don't know what happened. I also don't know what's going on with Jaylen Brown. So, like, he may actually be more hurt than we know, and they'll probably make adjustments. It's, again, this happens in every series. It's game 1. You can't overreact to game.
I don't know. The dog pile. Miami's my team. I love them. That dog pile was a little unnecessary. That's the way I felt. I watched the game. It was a little unnecessary. Yeah, like player safety really should be a thing in situations like that. And I mean, at some point, even without Jaylen Brown getting hurt, they were just putting up anything. Like, to let the Celtics do that, they have a tendency where they just kind of throw up weird, bad IQ shots, and it's just like, it is what it is.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. We'll see how this all unfolds. We'll check back in next week to see where these series go. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but you both killed it and great job as always. And we'll talk next week to see where things are going in the NBA.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Oh, no worries, man. All right. Fresh faces, new ideas, Bars the God. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you soon.